Mean Matt here, and this is Killer Kyle. Before we continue with our regularly scheduled program, we're going to talk about the recent passing of one Anthony Bourdain. As we told you a long time ago, Kyle and I watch a lot of food shows.
Yes.
And I actually never really watched Unknown that much. I
Yeah.
heard a lot about it, and judging by the kind of person that he was, he kind of looked like a rough kind of person that loved life a little bit too much.
Yeah, really. Yeah, when you take into consideration the amount that man drank while filming these episodes, wherever he ended up being, whether it be like Tokyo, Japan, or Las Vegas, or somewhere down south, pretty much any scene during the show that he was sitting down with one person or a couple people or a group of people, he always had a drink while they were eating, whether it be beer, wine, etc. The man also smoked like a chimney, pretty much.
Oh yeah, you can hear it in his voice too.
And, I mean, it's good to see a guy do a show about kind of like the history of a certain place, because we might know stuff about it from, well, I think a lot of times what it is perception isn't always reality. What we perceive something to be generally isn't how it actually is. So, for example, if we see a movie where they're in Vietnam and it's like in the shovels and people are homeless and, you know, doing whatever they can to get something to eat, and water's dirty and not able to drink it, and gotta walk miles to get water or go to school or whatever the case may be, and then you actually learn about Vietnam, and it's the polar opposite of what you might have seen in that movie. Or you learn about something, let's say at school in history class, about a war or a country or whatever, and then you see a show like what Anthony Bourdain did,
Yeah.
and what you learned in school was only just a small part of the bigger picture. And what he would do is he would basically go to whatever country or place and sit down with the people that knew about it, lived it, whatever, and just have an in-depth conversation and eat and drink and whatever. And you really got to learn an extended version of what you might have learned. So, in a sense, it's what you learn more about what you thought you knew, but you didn't really know all of it. And that seems to be the thing. Sometimes we think we know it all, but we actually don't. And then you see something like that, and you're like, oh wow, this is certainly different and new and not necessarily what you were expecting. Another thing about it too is he would go to like a pretty high-end restaurant for dinner or lunch, whatever, with people, or he would go to like, there's one episode where he was in, I think it was like Biloxi, Mississippi or something like that, and Barack Obama just happened to be visiting that place, and Anthony and Barack Obama had a sit down lunch at, it was either a noodle house or a place that makes like really good soups or whatever, and it was the two of them just sitting down, talking and eating. And of course, you got all these people around in the same place, and they're just minding their own business, eating pho or whatever. Like having Barack Obama there is a normal thing when it really isn't, because he's the president, or was the president of the United States at the time. But yeah, he shook hands with people and greeted. There was a whole bunch of them. Pretty much the whole town was there to greet him. But I think it was pretty cool. Just the simple fact that he got to have a one-on-one conversation and lunch with the president.
Yeah.
I mean, how many people in their lifetime got to say they had an opportunity to have an in-depth conversation and a sit-down meal with a leader of the nation, so to speak?
Yeah, like I just saw an interview someone posted on Facebook. He was in a cafe or somewhere in Florida, I want to say. It could have been somewhere in California. I may be wrong. It was Anthony interviewing Iggy Pop. They're just shooting the shit and talking about stuff. And, you know, Iggy, again, was the guy who used to... Well, he was the wild man of rock and roll, basically.
Yeah.
The guy that used to be a heroin addict and all this other shit, and then was clean and sober for years and years, and just talking about life and being positive and all that other stuff. Not knowing the kind of life Anthony had, and I think that goes back to, you don't know what goes on in people's minds until they're gone.
Oh, yeah.
And goes back to Chris Cornell, and goes back to Chester Bennington, who we lost last year as suicide. You know, instead of people being that concerned, it's always, oh, he's just depressed, let's leave him alone or whatever.
Yeah.
That's the total opposite of what people need to do.
Yeah.
As of Anthony Bourdain, I had no idea. Nobody really would have guessed if he had the mental illness or whatnot.
Yeah.
So, that's, you know, very sad to know. Now, I wish I watched more of his shows, but I unfortunately didn't.
And another thing about it too is, a lot of times when people are depressed, have anxiety, have OCD, have bipolar, or any kind of mental illness, so to speak, they generally do a very good job at hiding it.
Mm-hmm.
Take, may he rest in peace, Robin Williams, for example.
Yeah.
The man was a genius as far as comedy went. The movies he did. Of course, he did Mork and Mindy on TV and that. But just seeing him being just so full of energy, full of life, making people laugh, making people happy, you would have never really known that he had issues.
No, and I think the thing of it too is that people who are on all the time, like he would do interviews and just be different characters and not be straight, let's just interview Robin Williams. So when you look at something like that, you think, okay, you might be hiding something, who knows? I mean, I tend to be silly from time to time. I don't like to be serious all the time, but once again, you know, I know when to be serious, and I think Robin Williams coped with whatever he had in humor.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I really believe that him doing movies and him doing stand-up on TV, like the stand-up
movies?
No. Like, it'd just be a TV show of him doing stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
But there's a specific word for it. Anyway, so, for the public or whatever. And him doing stand-up on TV and movies, and all this other stuff, and interviews, and just having the constant, him just being on and on and on and on. And then when it finally came time for him to spend time with his family, and just kind of,
Yeah.
it must have been hard for him mentally because he was so familiarized with having to be funny and quick and witty and entertaining, that when it came time for him to just be Robin Williams, the guy, he might not have handled it very well as Robin Williams, the comedian.
Right, yeah.
Comedy special, essentially, is what I was looking for.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what really makes me sick is when people don't understand and they go, well, why are you depressed? There's people dying that want to live and you want to kill yourself.
Right.
Well, people can't fucking help who they are.
Yeah.
You know, how about instead of bitching, help them? You know? And you're right, sometimes it's hard to help people that don't want to be helped.
Oh, I know.
So, I mean, all you can do is try, and I think they need to be listened to a lot more.
I absolutely agree. People with mental illnesses should be listened to more, and they need to be listened more. And it's a real shame that these people feel and believe that suicide is their only option, their only way out, and it's not. You can go to therapy, go to your friends, go to your family, and go, hey, look, have a mental issue, whatever it may be. I need somebody to talk to.
Yeah.
And go from there. And as fucked up as this world can be, the world isn't a complete disaster, and there is good in the world. Trust me, there's good in this world.
Always. Always, yes. You know, I get depressed, but nowhere near.
Not depressed.
No. But, yeah. Rest in peace, Anthony. You'll be missed.
I think he had to have been close to 60 or something.
Well,
like
it said he was 61.
Okay, 61.
Anyway,
On a lighter note,
okay, so this episode obviously is gonna be the top heels, top faces. We're not gonna go, we didn't, how did I put that? I don't have a list. Kyle doesn't have a list. We'll do a list together.
yes.
That's how I word it, I guess. Now, when I say faces and heels, what I mean is, well, I probably explained last week, heels that are hated. Like that, you wouldn't call them cool heels, I guess.
Yeah, not heels where they started off being hated, and then it got to a point where they were really good at being bad, that they eventually being liked. It's like, alright.
Yeah,
Stone Cold, for example.
Stone Cold, CM Punk,
Yeah.
Dudley Boys, maybe?
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, you know, just some are a good list. Now, there are going to be some wrestlers that are going to be, like, in between, kind of.
Right.
So I guess I could save those towards the end, so...
Yeah, because there was a lot of wrestlers that bounced back and forth between face and heel, and, you know, throughout did there a number of transitions throughout their career, although I don't think anybody has a bigger record of most heel and face turns than fucking Big Show.
Oh god, yeah, I won't even go there.
Right. But yeah.
So, let's start off with heel.
I'm gonna start off with a guy that was an amazing wrestler. He could grapple with the best of them. He could out-wrestle a lot of people. He managed to incorporate the catch-as-catch-can style of wrestling into his own style of wrestling very well. He became champion across the board pretty much. He really knew how to get under your skin, and I would say one of the top 10, maybe 15 roughly best heels all time, and a guy that just excelled beyond belief, and right now is the current general manager for NXT. One Mr. William Regal.
Oh, yeah. And, you know, it's true. Like, he played the heel basically all his career.
Essentially.
Except for a few spots in the late 2000s, I guess. Well, when he was doing his thing with Eugene, but...
Yeah.
Yeah, this guy basically started in WCW. Like, I remember watching WWF when he came in as the real man's man.
Yes.
And not having watched WCW that much, but looking at magazines and going, hey, that guy is from WCW.
Right.
I actually do remember watching one snippet of a show, and it was Lord Stephen Regal coming down the aisle.
Right, yes.
So yeah, this guy basically one of the top heels in wrestling, you know. The guy definitely does not break character as a heel. Like,
No.
Again, one of those guys that will be a heel even out of the ring. He won't.
Oh, yeah.
From what I think he said, won't sign autographs, won't be nice to anybody, just a heel. You know, I guess, unless it's his private life, but, you know, one of these guys that also did really cool in WCW and WWE.
Yes.
He never wrestled in ECW.
No.
But got his start in England at 17.
Yes.
And went from there.
Fighting on the cobblestones.
Oh, yeah. European champion.
Intercontinental champion, a tag champion. Didn't really make it to, like, the high... Like, never really did main event stuff and was too main event stream. But he held his own. He did very well as far as titles goes.
Yeah. You know, he never won a WWE championship. Never really won I don't know if he won a WCW title.
He was WCW television champion.
Oh, yeah.
I think he also held the WCW tag titles. And that's about it, I believe.
Yeah. And of course, we mentioned it in the video for the Hall of Fame. Needs to be in a WWE.
A guy that for sure should be in the Hall of Fame one day. I mean, like I said, he's right now the general manager for NXT. He also does talent scouting, little bits here and there with the Performance Center.
Yeah.
So he's still keeping relatively busy, even though he hasn't wrestled in, I'll say, 10 years or so.
Yeah, about that. I mean, I think the last time he was in the ring, he may have won King of the Ring. Or no, the last time he was in the ring, he was feuding with Chris Hero.
Right, yes,
Or
yes.
Cassius Ohno.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, next on our list is a guy that, again, I don't know a lot out of WWF. I've seen him wrestle in Japan. I know that he's done Mid-South Wrestling, I'm sure. $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase.
Yes, he did. He wrestled in... Well, yeah, he would have wrestled in Japan. He wrestled in I believe his main territory, you could say, he wrestled in was St. Louis.
Yes.
Was the St. Louis wrestling territory with Sam Muchnick.
Now, I'm not quite sure if he was a heel.
I don't think he was a heel at that point.
Oh.
See, when he was in the St. Louis territory, well, I would say fresh in wrestling,
Okay.
he, I think at that point was a babyface-ish. He didn't really go like full-on heel until he got to WWE.
Right on, yeah. I mean, this guy obviously played a good scumbag.
Oh yeah.
No, this... And I'm one of those people, too. I despise rich people.
No kidding.
I mean, the arrogance, the cockiness, just everything that Ted DiBiase had as the $1 Million Man. Virgil was like his
Bodyguard, assistant.
And he had Sherry at one point
Yes.
as a manager, you know. And it was pretty awesome because when I started watching, it was Money Inc. with the IRS.
Yes.
And they were a really good tag team. And, I mean, but before that, you had this guy feud with Jake Roberts,
Yes.
Ultimate Warrior, Macho Man, Randy Savage,
Dusty Rhodes.
yes,
I think Ric Flair. Of course, Hulk Hogan and British Beefcake.
Big Boss Man.
Yes.
Big Boss Man turned face in that kind of promo that they had there.
Yes.
The guy introduced the fucking Undertaker.
Yep.
The very first guy that do that. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then, of course, he would go on to be in WCW. He joined the NWO.
He started out managing the Steiner brothers.
Oh, okay.
This was fairly later on in their career. And then Ted was a member of the NWO. And then, of course, eventually Scott turned on Rick, and Scott became a member of the NWO. But, yeah.
I don't know if Ted became a part of the TNA roster
I don't believe
when
so.
it started, so yeah, after that, basically became a part of the agency for WWE.
Yeah, I think he does behind the scenes stuff, or probably production or something like that. Then, of course, as we all know, his kid got involved in wrestling as well.
Yeah.
And I tell you, you look at Ted DiBiase Jr., and then you look at early
Yeah.
$1 Million Man, they're fucking twins.
Pretty much, yeah.
Basically.
It's too bad that Junior didn't have the best career that his dad
Yeah, I know,
had,
eh?
unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, Ted DiBiase basically, you know, he would do these segments where he would make fun of people, and
Oh, yeah.
there was a little kid that he kicked the basketball
Yeah.
out of. Rob Van Dam made an appearance, his very first appearance as a fan, kissing Ted's feet.
If you dribble this basketball 10 times, I'll give you $100.
Yeah.
Or, yeah, if you kiss my foot, or whatever degrading thing you could think of.
Mm.
Of course, the one thing that I remember was, Fishing Gullet was his trademark, is he'd put somebody to sleep with $1 Million Dream, and then he'd take $100 bill or whatever and shove it in their mouth.
Yes. Yeah, this guy definitely was one of the best heels. Again, like Ric Flair, one of the biggest bad guys, you know, the rich, snobby asshole. Never really turned face or anything, which was why he made this list.
He was a guy that was so good at being a heel. You maybe admired him, you definitely respected him, as well as being an in-ring competitor, but he never really went to the point where he was so good as a heel, you started to like him. He was just at that fine line where he was good enough as a heel where you wanted to see him get beat up. You didn't really want to see him win. And he just had a knack for pissing people off.
Yeah.
And he was so good at it that week in, week out, it was the same thing. And it just got drawn into it.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I've got some wrestlers and a few managers I came up with. So, where do we go with manager? Next is a guy that managed during the 70s into the 80s. He was a very good heel manager. He managed pretty much a who's who of wrestlers. And he's, I would say, one of the major legends of the business. And really deserves the utmost respect. And a guy that I felt deserved to be on this list. And I would put him at the top of the list as far as the all-time great managers. And probably his famous quote, "Ya pencil neck geek."
Oh,
Classy Freddie Blassie.
I did this. Okay. Yeah. You know, I honestly don't remember too much of him as a kid. I must have heard his name somewhere. And, I could have saw him, because I did have flashbacks from time to time when I was about 8 or 9. And, yeah, one of these guys that wrestled in the 60s and the 70s, and,
Yep.
well, mainly 60s, and blossomed into being a manager.
Yeah.
Managing a lot of great, Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, he won that, basically introduced
Yeah,
Hulk Hogan.
Iron Sheik.
Yes.
Shit. There's a ton more.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, a guy that definitely was one of the best heroes. And,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You had the pencil neck geek.
Yes.
And you had a lot of, the guy with the cane,
Yeah.
And just, funny thing about managing Iron Sheik is that you don't have to know the language, you can just make up shit.
Yeah.
Iron Sheik would just talk in this native Iranian, and fucking Blassie would be like, yeah, Bali, 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 yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And, yeah, definitely. And we all get old, obviously, watching him in his last days being wheeled out by the Dudleys, and, it was Steve Austin. That was basically the last time that he appeared in WWF. And it's a shame, but, yeah, one of the greats, whether he was a wrestler, a manager, just and a Hall of Famer.
Oh, yeah.
And just one of, nobody will ever duplicate that.
No, not in this lifetime.
No. So we're gonna go now to, actually we're going to step forward, and the guy that I personally hate, I really don't understand why, because he also bounces from face to heel. I didn't put him in that category, but he works better as a heel. Randy Orton.
Yeah. He really could just make you wanna do things that you wouldn't necessarily think you'd wanna do to somebody, but he makes you feel that way.
Well, you have a guy like Randy Orton whose father is
Oh,
Bob Orton. You've got Bob Orton Sr.
Senior, his grandfather.
So, quite the high pedigree.
Oh, no doubt.
But just the biggest asshole. I mean, you have a guy like Triple H, who also is a heel, and when he says that Randy Orton needed a big talking to.
Yeah, well, that tells you something.
Sure. But yeah, Randy Orton kind of represents the badass in the wrestling company.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the shit that he did back then, and you know, seeing all these photos of him smoking, and it's like, really? You want to do that to your body?
Yeah.
And the fact is, you know, he got his life together. He's got a daughter, and he's got a second wife and stepkids, and
Yeah.
it finally seems like he's got his shit together. So, I mean, there's that, but
Yeah, he can be this over-the-top badass. I'm gonna, RKO you out of nowhere, get physical with you, beat you up, and do all this stuff in the ring and on TV. But once he steps into his personal life, he's like cool,
yeah.
mellow, relaxed. Like I'm honestly surprised it's not on anymore. When Unfiltered was going on the WWE Network, he did a sit-down interview with Renee, and of course they brought on his new wife.
Yeah.
And they were talking about they're talking about Bora Bora and him proposing to her, and the family, and getting adopting a dog as well. They were on a trip. They'd go for hikes, and this dog would follow them practically all over the place. And so they eventually brought the dog
Well, you know,
home. And,
adopting, stealing, the same thing.
nah,
Anyway,
but yeah,
yeah. I really, and you know, it's true. You know you're a good heel when someone hates your guts, and I truly believe that Randy Orton does an awesome job at doing that.
yes, very much so.
You know, his feud with Triple H, and just the biggest scumbag ever. You know, RKO Stephanie, and then kiss her while
She's out.
she's out, and Triple H is handcuffed to the rope, and it's
Oh
like,
yeah.
yeah, that's classic. You know,
Going in depth as a heel without being way over the top.
yeah,
Like it's a heel move that you can get away with without having to cause too much of a backlash, so to speak.
yeah. Well, and the thing too is that the youngest world champion,
Yeah.
you know, and I thought, okay, so SummerSlam going to face Chris Benoit, and it's like, okay, we're just gonna give him the title now, and then I felt like that was too soon. Obviously, it was too soon. I think they just thought, oh well, he's a babyface now.
Yeah, he's a baby face. He's a young kid. He's good in the ring. He can handle it.
third generation wrestler.
Yeah.
Obviously, he couldn't handle it. You know.
I think it took a few years and a lot of smartening up before he could be a champion and be successful.
Exactly. But yeah, Randy Orton definitely on that list. Did he make it? I mean, yeah, okay, so. I mean, he's a face, but it takes a lot to convince me of that, because I still see that slime ball.
Yeah. And I mean, talk about Triple H being handcuffed to the ropes and Randy Orton RKOing her and kissing her and all this other stuff he did. That he did some pretty harsh, heelish stuff when he was with Cody and Ted and Legacy.
Oh god, yeah. I mean, and that kind of shows you the unprofessionalism. There's a thing, like him and Kofi hate each other, I guess.
Yeah.
Whether they patch things up, I don't know, but there's a time where, as Kofi was supposed to do something in the ring, and Randy Orton, cause out of nowhere he yells stupid. after RKOing him. So I'm not sure exactly what was going on there.
Yeah.
But
Okay. Who fucked up what, or what the fuck up was, or whatever. But
yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So talk about guys that you absolutely hated their guts no matter what. I put on my list a guy that I absolutely think is among the top heels of all time. A guy that made a stellar career out of being a heel. Won championships pretty much everywhere he went. And one of the guys that you could just ultimately despise with a passion, but yet ended up rightfully taking his place where he deserved this past year at the Hall of Fame, and just a guy that was, like, as much as he was hated, he was absolutely amazing. Jeff Jarrett.
Oh yeah. Yeah, a lot of people despise Jeff Jarrett, and I think in him being inducted this year,
Yes.
it's like, I think as you get older, you know, it doesn't work for everybody. It works for some people. As they get older, they start to realize the shit that they've done, and they put people through, I guess, and the way they've acted, and I'm pretty sure he kind of realized a lot of things along the way. So, I mean, yeah, I was never a fan of his. Like, when he first debuted, I thought, yeah. Not really a fan of him. Like, I think that he's, not really something I liked. And of course, he, multiple time Intercontinental Champion, will take team champions with Owen Hart, you know, and just basically one of those guys that, I don't know, she never really got the big one.
No.
And then, you know, you had it with China.
Yes.
But also going to WCW with Deborah and playing the same guy, I guess. I don't know.
Oh yeah, when he was first in WWE, he was this famous country star, and he got into wrestling because he thought he could handle wrestling and be entertaining and all this other stuff. His WCW go-around was kind of the same thing, just not as over the top
Exactly.
as his WWE run, although I think it was late in his WWE run and then into his WCW run is where he adapted the guitar as a weapon.
Yeah.
And he would Louisville slugger your ass with that guitar.
Oh, yeah. You thought that Honky Tonk Man was the terrible one. Shit.
Like, okay, the one time Honky Tonk Man did a sneak attack on Jake Roberts when he was doing the snake pit, and of course, hits Jake in the head with the guitar. The guitar doesn't break. That's, you know, that's a heel move, but I mean, you compare that to Jeff Jarrett smacking a 75, 76, whatever year old woman in the head with a guitar.
Shit. Yeah, that guy.
Holy shit, we hit the Twilight Zone again. We're
Okay.
back.
Oh, God. You know, sometimes I think there's juice in that fucking thing, and... Anyways. Okay, so Jeff Jarrett. Okay. We can't talk about Jeff Jarrett without talking about, of course, TNA, Total Nonstop Action, or as I used to call it, WCW Life.
Yeah.
You know, I think that this being his dad's thing, you know, Jerry Jarrett and, of course, Jeff. I mean, it started out NWA, I believe.
Right.
So, it was kind of interesting. The only feud I remember was Jeff and Kurt Angle.
Yeah, Jeff had quite a number of feuds throughout his time in TNA. Kurt Angle was probably his most notable feud, but I mean, he feuded with Rhino, he feuded with Raven, he feuded with, I think, Abyss, he feuded with Christian, I believe, and he feuded with lots of others during his, several others throughout his tenure as a in-ring competitor through 14. And one thing I will commend Jared on is being able to operate TNA as well as mixed up. Like, seemingly his main focus was wrestling. Now, yes, him and his dad founded the company, and so I'm sure he did a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff to keep them separate.
Yeah. I believe we talked about his referee
Yes.
days in Memphis Wrestling.
That's right.
He wrestled in Dallas.
Yes.
It was, I'm not quite sure if it was WCCW, but you had him.
I think it was USWA at that point
Yeah.
when he came in.
You had him, you got Steve Austin, Mark Calloway when he was the Punisher.
Sure, yes.
You know, a lot of these guys that eventually went to WWF.
Right.
And yeah, well, so there it is.
Yes.
So next we're going to talk about a guy who was one of the most interesting managers.
Him being in Smoky Mountain Wrestling and the AWA and TNA and WWE and Dairy Queen story. And
Yeah, but I don't know if it caught. Because at what point did we talk about Jeff Jarrett?
when it before it got cut off.
Okay.
Because
Alright. So, yeah, okay, we're gonna talk about a guy who was legendary in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. Of course, he was in Memphis Wrestling. He had an infamous feud with Andy Kaufman. And then, of course, his days in WWE. And, of course, we're talking about one, Jerry the King Lawler.
yeah, Jerry was one of those guys that he was an absolute amazing in-ring performer. The promos he could cut were second to none. When he came to WWE, he could really incite people and just annoy the fuck out of you. And he knew how to push the right buttons without going too far.
Well, there's this one, actually, with Jake Roberts that I think is one of those things where they didn't really know how bad of an alcoholic he was, and you have Jerry Lawler making fun of him with the whole bar thing, and then throwing whiskey into his face. Now, according to Jake, it was real whiskey,
Right.
and it burnt like hell, so... But yeah, Jerry Lawler had these feuds with Bret Hart, Ultimate Warrior, Roddy Piper, which I had all those DVDs.
Bret Hart.
And yeah, Bret Hart is one of those ones that started, of course, King of the Ring, and then it went from there.
Yes.
Not quite sure if it was one of the better feuds of that year or decade, whatever. You know, you have the whole Dairy Queen, Burger King thing going on.
Yeah.
You know, they feuded for a long time, and you know, you want to look at almost 2012 and almost losing Jerry Lawler.
Yeah.
You know, if you can imagine what it feels like to have a guy that is straight edge. He doesn't smoke, drink, or do drugs. Okay, he eats high fat foods and drinks Coca-Cola, but there's a guy that was fine 1 minute and then boom, you know, just dead for like 30 minutes,
Pretty much, yeah.
you know.
It was one of those things where, of course, you got Michael Cole and Jerry Lawler on commentary. Jerry Lawler, of course, has a match. He gets out of the ring, goes back on commentary. They're rocking and rolling and going on. And then all of a sudden, you can only hear Michael Cole on commentary. And there's silence. Usually when it's silent, it's like, okay, one person's running. We're calling a match for a little bit, and then the other person will chime in, and then whoever's doing the commentary will go back and forth and have a banter and whatever. And then, you know, the match will end and they'll carry on. But when you can only hear Michael Cole on commentary, it's like, okay, did Jerry leave? Did he go backstage or something? Did he go to the bathroom? And then, so the match carries on, the match concludes. They go to commercial, and it's probably a good 5 minutes later or whatever. Michael Cole goes, well, I got some bad news. My broadcast colleague Jerry Lawler suffered a heart attack. They took him to the back, they're working on him, and so on. And then Michael Cole goes, out of respect for Jerry Lawler, for the rest of the evening and the rest of the show, we're not gonna have any commentary. And it's like, are you fucking kidding me? Okay, yes, there's the whole scenario with Jerry Lawler having a heart attack and him being medically looked at and, you know, trying to revive him, the whole 9 yards. And you gotta go on with the show, but I mean, obviously you're not really going to be able to do a one-man commentary thing. Was there nobody else that could fill in, or was everybody in such shock that they just, alright, we'll do the rest of the show, but forget about the commentary? And it's like, well fuck, if you go to the bathroom, or you get up to get a drink, or whatever, you're more than likely going to miss what's going on because there's no commentary. That's kind of the beauty of commentary, if you will. Yeah, you can leave to go to the bathroom or get a drink or, you know, get a snack or just get something to eat, and you still have an idea of what's going on because you can hear what's going on. With there's no commentary, you basically have to pay close attention to what's going on.
No, I think it's just shock. It's one of those things where everyone's in shock. They don't know what to do at that point. They're about to lose one of their own, and that's when you gotta take one for the team and go, alright, I'm very concerned about my colleague. I really can't do this right now, and yeah, and you know, for people at home that can't hear any commentary, that's just the way it is. Like, I don't know how else they could have really gone, you know?
Like, okay, I can understand everybody being shaken up, and of course, I don't think there's anybody more shaken up than Michael Cole having to basically watch the guy literally sit beside him and
Collapse.
yeah. And the thing about it too was Michael Cole's going with the commentary, and he looks over and he sees Lawler with his head on the desk, and he can hear like snoring, or what sounded like snoring.
Yeah.
And he just thought, oh, Jerry Lawler's pretending the match is boring, and he's freaking falling asleep, and whatever, and he's gonna go like, hey, wake up, or whatever, and then just have Lawler completely collapse. And I was like, oh shit, this is more serious than we thought.
Yeah.
And of course, it's a good thing they've always got a doctor ringside, otherwise we for sure probably would have ended up losing Lawler, but
Yeah.
nevertheless.
No, Montreal seems to be that city that's always cursed.
No
You got the
kidding.
Montreal screw job, you got this, fuck. And then of course you got the tasteless feud with CM Punk and Paul Heyman with Jerry Lawler.
Yeah.
Now they probably could have talked about it earlier, but yeah, it is what it is.
One thing that's good about it, though, is at least a little while after it happened, they were able to poke fun at it and have a good laugh about it.
Yeah, and I think that's the only way you have to look at it. And
Yeah.
really, that's just the way it is. And I think Jerry Lawler is very lucky
Oh,
to
absolutely.
be alive. Well,
For sure, 100%. And one thing that we did touch on that didn't get recorded, and we can touch on it again. I don't really think you can mention Jerry Lawler and Jerry Lawler feuds, Jerry Lawler matches, without mentioning the infamous rivalry and feud he had
NWA.
with Kerry Von Erich.
Yep. NWA title versus AWA title. Of course, this is the point where AWA was going out of business. You know, there was a story that Kerry Von Erich was on something, and they were trying to get Jerry to win the match, but Kerry had none of it. And of course, guy with the crimson mask ends up beating Jerry Lawler and winning both titles. Where that went after that, I'm not sure, but yeah, what a good match.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
What an awesome match. I
Yeah.
think Jerry Lawler definitely, despite, whatever, is always going to be one of those good wrestlers of his time.
Yes.
Going from Memphis Wrestling as the guy that does the artwork.
Oh yeah, he's a phenomenal artist.
Lance Russell calling him up and saying, hey, you want to come do caricatures of wrestlers, and going from that to the whole wrestling, and then Andy Kaufman, and then you get Bret Hart and Roddy Piper and being commentator, and pretty awesome career if you ask me.
Oh yeah, like, could you imagine? You're a young kid, you go to the Memphis Coliseum, I think was the name of the arena
Yeah.
in Memphis. Anyways, you go there with your dad, and yeah, you're enjoying the match, but you're just doodling away, drawing caricatures and stuff like that. And then you got the commentator, head, whatever, of this company going, hey kid, I heard you're artist. How would you draw some sketches of what happened, and we'll use them for next week's show to talk about what happened last week. And then he ended up getting a DJ job, and then he basically lied his way into the wrestling business, and as they say, the rest is history.
There it is. So, now we go on to the ladies of wrestling. This lady was definitely one of the best. Again, like Freddie Blassie, started off as a wrestler, and then ended up going to WWE, managing $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase. Of course, her famous manager skills with Shawn Michaels.
Yes.
You know, yeah, she had a feud with Luna Vachon. I gotta tell you, one of the worst women's wrestling of that year, anyways. Sensational Queen Sherry.
Yeah.
I forgot to mention Macho King, but that's okay.
Yes.
Sensational Queen Sherry, you know, one of these women that was tough as hell.
Oh, fuck yeah.
You know, she did a lot better in AWA, and I mean, her wrestling in WWE was not as good. That's as far as I can remember.
Right.
I didn't really pay attention to the women's wrestling back then, but from what I can tell, her wrestling in AWA was far more better.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Sherry had an absolutely sensational in-ring career. She had feuds with Rock and Robin. I'm trying to think of ladies wrestlers from that
And
come by the AWA.
well, I'm sure I'll look it
Yeah.
up. Yeah.
And of course managing Playboy Buddy Rose
Mhm.
and
The Rockers, when they were in AWA,
yes.
you know, from there it would be Shawn Michaels, late 90s. You
Yes.
have Ted DiBiase, of course, like we said, Macho King Randy Savage.
Yes.
One of the toughest women ever, and holy shit, can she scream.
Oh fuck. I'd
Yeah.
say there was no two women that could yell the loudest than Sherry and Melina.
Oh god, yeah. And it's unfortunate that we lost her in 2007.
Yes.
You know, one of the most influential in women's wrestling. And, you know, it kind of bothers me that, okay, we couldn't have the Fabulous Moolah Battle Royal. Well, fuck. Call it the Sherry Martel Battle Royal.
Or the Miss Elizabeth Battle Royal, or the Mae Young Battle Royal, or there's many women that you could have given that accolade to. I mean, Fabulous Moolah was probably the first that came to mind, but
Mm.
no, can't have that. Too many people bitched about it. Anyways, I digress.
Yeah, but Sherry, one of the best, you know. I think she'll definitely be missed. There, you know, there is her time in WCW
Yes,
as Sister Sherry.
with Harlem Heat.
Yep. And so, you know, just one of the women, and you know, she did come back for an appearance, you know, alongside Kurt Angle.
Yeah, that was,
Train wreck,
you could say that.
but definitely somebody that deserved to be in the Hall of Fame, and of
Yes.
course she was shortly before she passed. And yeah, always gonna be one of the best women heel managers of all time.
Yeah. And when you talk about how tough Sherry was, and you would see several women get involved in matches where they would do something to the opposition of whoever it was they were managing, but I believe Sherry's the one that started that.
Yes.
And I mean, like, you can talk about, you know, trying to get in the ring with men and wrestling men, and Beth Phoenix doing the same, and, you know, all these other women that would get involved in matches involving guys, but no one did it better than Sherry.
No.
Next, alright, how about we go to a guy that, again, could be considered one of the best managers of all time. No one could be more annoying than this guy. Matt and I have talked about him repeatedly, and things he's said and things he's done and blah 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 blah. His career had an interesting start to it, but ever since he's just excelled and is and has been one of the best. Paul Heyman.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Paul Heyman, definitely. I mean, here's a guy that, you know, Dangerous Alliance, WCW, you know, basically somebody that Vince Sr. took in as a camera guy.
Yes.
Just 16 years old. And from there, going to WCW. There was another promotion he was in, but mainly it was WCW doing the Dangerous Alliance.
Yes.
You have ECW, the guy who manages 911. And from there, he manages Sabu.
Yes.
And Rob Van Dam. And then later takes over the company.
Yes.
And it becomes Extreme Championship Wrestling. You know, just taking that concept of, okay, we're going to take professional wrestling, but we're going to make it a hardcore, or whatever you want to call it, promotion. So it's going to be like, you know, no rules. We're going to have weapons and these fucking crazy matches that you see in Japan. It really, you know, kind of brought that out, and you see that sort of in Ring of Honor.
Yeah.
You know, but Paul Heyman not only does that, when ECW gets bought, goes to WWF and becomes commentator with Jim Ross. And coincidentally enough, they did commentary back in WCW, which I didn't know about until recently.
Yeah.
So, small world how that happens.
I know, right?
But then you get ECW coming back, or as it should be called, WWECW.
Yeah, really.
And so Paul Heyman hates that shit, so...
Yeah, no fucking kidding.
So he left WWE, he went, you have... Well, before that, like, go back, you have, after WrestleMania 18, the debut of Brock Lesnar.
Yes.
So, you've got Paul Heyman being manager to Brock Lesnar, and then you have the birth of ECW years later. It's not without One Night Stand, which was awesome.
Right.
And then you have that, and then Paul leaves again, and then comes back with Brock Lesnar. You've got Paul Heyman, he manages Brock Lesnar. He managed The Big Show. He managed CM Punk. You know, the guy definitely, you know, Cesaro.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, Cesaro didn't get the push he deserved.
No.
So, that sucks. Curtis Axel, Joe Heading, whatever. The guys, you know, the thing is, Paul Heyman, like The Undertaker would say, made people famous.
Yep.
And he's a fucking genius.
Oh, absolutely.
And now he's still with Brock Lesnar. I mean, I don't know what the fuck is going on right now, but whatever. And Paul Heyman definitely one of those guys that, again, deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. You have this classic feud with Jim Cornette.
It's the tuxedo match?
Yeah. You have this guy who carries around this phone, and well, it's the 80s style brick cell phone.
Oh, yeah.
and then it evolves from there. You know, it's just one of those things that Paul Heyman is definitely one of the best managers of all time, bar none. I think he's one of the smartest men of all time.
Oh, absolutely, without question. Without question.